afternoon, gladiators. Welcome back to another episode of the Colorful Voices podcast. I'm your host and gladiator, Timothy M. Jones, and today we have a true titan in the world of entrepreneurship, networking, and community empowerment. My guest today has been called the Connecting King, a leader who has spent over 18 years, wow, 18 years building bridges, creating spaces for small businesses to thrive, and mastering the art of social media engagement, excuse me. He's helped raise over $500,000. Gladiators. Let me put that in. 500K, 500,000, over $500,000 for small businesses, for entrepreneurs and grassroots organizations. He's a trustee for Kiva International, and he's helped create massive online followings from everyone from nonprofits to politicians to influencers. It's an honor to welcome the one and only Vernard Alexander to the show. Vernard King, thank you for being
Hey
here.
Timothy, thank you for that warm. That might be you like top one or two intros I've ever received. So I'm gonna have to take this and use it in the future.
This, I'm gonna get better at it, King. I read your bio and highly impressed, and again, just you are a true titan in our community. It is an honor to be speaking with you and having this conversation, which we're just starting. This is the beginning of many conversations for our community, which is amazing. And I want to start with because you have built an empire around. And I love the right words. We have to use the words correctly. You have built an empire around connection and empowerment. Two things that I know resonate deeply that are with our gladiators out there. So before we dive into the meat of our conversation, I do have to ask, where did this journey begin for you?
Wow. Okay. 18 and a half years ago, my children's mother and I were expecting our first child. And, I had a nice job at the time, but, just kind of thinking about the future, I was like, God, you know, I want to do something, but I don't know what it is, to kind of change the legacy of my family. And not long after that, I read an article in our no our local Afrocentric newspaper that's been around over 100 years, the New Pittsburgh Courier. And the title was something to the effect of the new Crawford Grill was closing. And for context, the Crawford Grill was a historic bar restaurant in the heart of the Hill District. Jazz players from all over the world in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and on would come to the Crawford Grill to play, right? Legendary artists. And it closed for many years. A new ownership opened in a different location, which would have been Station Square, entertainment district of the city of Pittsburgh. As a result of that, right, new location, higher rent, have to pay to park now. Food, the cost of food went up, the cost of drinks went up, and so it just wasn't the same. I believe it closed after maybe a year or so, and I was absolutely floored with the comments in the article. So the reporter of the Courier interviewed a few folks from the community, and at that time, whenever there was a sort of like hot button topic, one thing I loved about the Courier is that they will always interview folks just sort of like randomly on the streets or something like that to get their opinion. And every comment related to the closing of the new Crawford Grill was like, so what? Like, who cares? Like, it's not on the hill anymore. I didn't want to travel to the south side. I didn't want to pay $5 to park. You know, I didn't want to pay the increased prices of food and drinks, etc. And that just sort of blew my mind, and that started the seed in my mind of the Minority Network and Exchange, which I'll be celebrating the 19th year anniversary early next year. And with that, I wanted to create an organization that will be a support to minority owned businesses in Western PA outside of a traditional chamber of commerce. So, the mission of the Minority Network and Exchange, the Minority Network and Exchange strives to increase the amount of successful minority owned businesses in Western
Man, King, I have known your name
PA.
for many years. If you are in, by the way, gladiators, if you are an entrepreneur and you're doing business, thinking about doing business, and you're in the Black and Brown communities, and you do not know the name and the face of Bernard Alexander, you now know the name and the face, Vernard Alexander. Your thread throughout the community, I felt way before I moved here. And one of the things that I used to say, and I still say, when I connected with someone from Pittsburgh, it was just something about connecting with someone from this area that I was like, something special is happening here. And hearing what you stated, you created it, you saw a need, and you filled the need, and you're still fulfilling that need. That dynamic leadership and servant leadership is rare, and that authenticity is felt. And so, whoo, oh my God, I love this. And you also share what the mission of the Minority Exchange is. And I am raising funds is not easy. you know, I remember knowing I was in an episode when I was like, oh, this, I'm just going to do this, and that, and then that's going to be it. But raising thousands for small businesses, again, not easy. And it's clear that your work is making a massive impact. One of the things I love about what you do is how deeply you do dive into social media and its tools for real change. I love your posts. Provoke you provoke thought, critical thinking. You ask questions that should be asked, and the answers that we get are the answers that we get, but it creates a conversation. What's your secret to social media domination, and how do you think it's evolving in today's world?
Wow, I think I can't remember how long we have been connected, but were we connected in a season where I was quite often posting questions of the night and water cooler
We
questions?
weren't, but we had this conversation because I was like, wait a minute, I like this.
So, I don't know how it got started. So I would say I've probably been on social media for almost as long as I've had a business. I think that my business is a little bit older, maybe a few years older than my social media presence. But with Facebook, I don't know, people just post anything, including myself at times. I've certainly have curated more of my random thoughts today than just, the sky is blue. And
Yes.
around 10 years ago, I posted a question, and I don't remember what the question was, but it kind of ignited a sort of like social media fight, sort of, where like people were just highly engaged and super emotional with their opinions, people pouring their hearts out, and then other people who you knew was typing answers that they may not necessarily believed, and it was sort of like trolling. And
Yeah.
um I just became known as, as that evolved, I became known as a person who created interesting conversations about anything from race, relationships, religion, sexuality, entrepreneurship, gender roles, etc. I mean, any topic that we wanted was pretty much on the table, and it
Yeah.
created such a massive following that I was getting friend requests 10 and 20 at a time every day.
Wow.
And as that evolved, I started curating who was connected to me. So, some people had to go, people who I may have felt was super toxic or
Yeah.
etc. And as my business started to grow, my social media presence started to grow, and as I became more of an expert in, or I would say as I became more of an expert generalist in the area of
Hmm.
entrepreneurship, people start paying attention to what I posted even more. And as the evolution of my business occurred, I think people knew me for three different things: creating interesting conversations, being very passionate about the development of the Black community in Western PA, and entrepreneurship. And as that evolved, and I think people really was able to look at me and see my heart and my commitment to this region, that it helped people trust me, right? We don't
Absolutely.
necessarily trust everyone who we're connected to, and everyone who speaks on a certain subject, especially on social media, is definitely not an expert, right? And I'll
Absolutely.
speed this up to talk about the last few years of my business. So now I'm a paid influencer. I get paid by corporations, foundations, nonprofits, um, to do a lot of social media promotion of their brand, etc. And that only happens because of the trust of the people I'm connected to and my followers. So many times when I create a call to action, people respond
Hmm.
to it. And then, that makes it look really appetizing for people who want to pay me to spread whatever word, message, product, services that they want to get out into the community. But what I've really had to learn, and some people have saw me as a community activist at one point in time, and I never saw myself as such. Um, but even friends who are in an activist community, I've
Hmm.
had to individually pull them aside and be like, you cannot chase every fire truck that goes down the street, right? So you want to be
Absolutely.
an activist? Great. Let's focus on one, two, maybe three areas max that you're most passionate about. And that's what you talk about. And it's the same thing with my business, right? I talk about entrepreneurship. I talk about how to find money and marketing and, stuff in a general sense, right? And,
Yes.
and community engagement, right? And so I try to, when I'm flexing my areas of expertise, I try to stay within those buckets, right? And so even
Yeah.
some of my activist friends, I'm like, okay, youth empowerment, a specific community, violence prevention. those are your buckets, right? And there may be
Yeah,
some other aggressions that goes on in a region. You can talk about it, but you can't be the leading face of that. You have to let other folks in the activist space, who that might be their lane, kind of lead that charge, right? And then you stay behind in a
absolutely.
supportive role because, even in the case with me, I'm not an expert in everything. So I really, it's always working to really cultivate those two or three areas where I see myself as an expert and just really stay in those lanes.
And that's a great point as well, because you can't do and be everywhere and do everything. And it also allows for more collaboration and the ideas that can be generated between uh, entrepreneurs, businesses, where we're headed,
Hmm.
and really solving the problems. We see that there's a lot of band-aids on places and on research, science, and we're moving into an era where the band-aids are going to be ripped off. It's going to be time to really prioritize mental health and mental, healing, and what does it look like as we are moving past pain and trauma. And it's time for our Black and Brown minority communities to find our happy.
Hmm.
It's past time for that. Get our happy and dreaming. And with that said, I'm gonna switch a little bit because authenticity is everything. And I know our audience is always curious. Bernard, what's your favorite color?
Hmm. So on the list of a few questions I saw that this was a question, and I don't know. I wear a lot of bright colors.
Okay.
Now because of my new job, I wear a lot of the university colors. But
Yes.
as you can see today, I have this nice bright, you know, um, rich red shirt on. But
Yes.
many times, I have a couple pink polo shirts. I really like all colors, to be honest with you. I tell
Right.
you what, the older I've gotten, especially the last couple years, I've embraced the color black in my wardrobe, which is
Ooh.
interesting because like I don't like to be hot, I don't like to be sticky, and I feel like sometimes
Yeah.
a black long sleeve shirt or even black jeans or slacks kind of attract those heat waves on you. But I can't say as a kid it was always red and blue.
Okay.
Now no colors really kind of stick out. I wear a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to sort of like become even a little bit more stylish and just kind of wear like sort of like out of the
Yeah.
pocket combos as well.
It's the fun part about you. Not having a favorite is really good because now you can play around with all the richness in all of the colors, and you can take so many great, as we say, style calculated risks.
Hmm.
Uh, I love that question for our gladiators because it does bring out different feelings and emotions, and it is such a fun exercise. Uh, being called I remember when someone stated I was the person with the colorful background. And I was like, man, I am the guy with the colorful background. I'll name my company Colorful Voices
Mm.
because it, for so long, that voice within inside me was a gray. What was coming out wasn't who I am and was. Um, so now that my voice is out and it's filled with that richness in life, and even now it's filled with consistency. It's filled with peace. It's filled with overarching sense of humbled gratitude. I go ahead. Were we going to say something?
No, no, no. I'm just taking it all in.
Oh, brother, I um when that to state that what that came about because of being here in this community. And I shared with you that I told you before we started recording that I wanted to give you your flowers on air. And I did, and I am. And this is that moment. And because I shared with you, there were some conversations that we had that you may have never have known that they had a very big impact on me when we had them. One of those conversations was I do not remember, I don't know if you remember that I was getting ready to go for a run and I was leaving the building that I was in and I was just like, hey, I think you were getting ready for one of your events that you were putting together. And I would love for you to share with what those events because it's a great community series that you do that raises money for nonprofits. And I was going on my run from there, but I just saw that and I was just observing and I just kept on going. You had no idea that the act of me doing that was so terrifying to me. I was really not, I was so afraid of leaving my home just because of the level of paranoia that I had risen to. And in that moment, I talk about not having a time where I stopped hearing voices of my fam and my mom. That was a pivotal moment for me because I felt calm and I felt safe. And it was everyone who are in our amazing community that helped do that. Thank you.
Powerful. Thank you. Thank you for
And
sharing.
being part of Be Me and our collaborate, being a fellow, it meant a lot to me to be accepted by our community and to speak towards what you stated. Our This community here is so loving and supportive when you're doing right by the community, when you're doing right and doing what you say, and living the way that you live authentically. And I would never get tired of saying those two words because it helped with my healing and it's part of the healing program we've put together. So these are your flowers, King, that I say thank you because you are, because I'm proud it's just awesome. And so I want to switch gears here because I'm an Aquarius and I like to get futuristic. Quantum computing is starting to be a big conversation in tech. It's already been a conversation in tech. It's the big conversation and entrepreneurship. How do you think this emerging technology might impact entrepreneurship, especially for small business owners?
Mm. Great question. I think even with myself, over the last few years, I have not fully embraced the new tech markets, right? And
Hmm.
as I mature and grow as an entrepreneur, I've definitely have seen a need to, tap in to some of these emerging markets within
Yeah.
tech, and so now I won't say I have fully embraced yet, but I would encourage, anyone listening who is an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur to sort of get involved as much as you can, to learn as much as you can. Because, I think some people thought that, some of these technologies will be a fad and go away, but it's not. automation,
Yeah.
technology, and all the different things. It's moving forward in a lightning speed. So um, embrace it now. Those of you who have children, or if you're auntie or uncle or godparent, etc., use your voice to encourage folks within the sphere of your network to embrace it as well. Because we are seeing right now the job markets are changing, you know, lots of startup tech companies here in Western PA. The market has changed. The percentages of people who look like you, Timothy, and I are super low. In
Mhm.
fact, coming up in mid October is Tech Week Pittsburgh, which is a
Oh,
focus on it's an inclusive week of events, but it's really geared towards the Black and Brown and underserved communities. So I will make sure that the website is www.techweek Pittsburgh spelled out.com, right? And um,
and we'll make sure that we put that link in the description box as well. So that way everyone and our gladiators, if you're in Southwestern PA, matter of fact, if you want to come to Southwestern PA to experience Tech Week, we invite you.
there are only about 10, so it's 4 days, October 14th to 17th, Monday through Thursday. There are only about 10 events listed on the site right now, but within the next couple weeks, that's probably going to quadruple to about 30, 40, 50, or more, so
Oh,
many
wow.
of these events are free. There are some events that are geared towards middle and high school students as well. So it'll be a great opportunity to meet Black and Brown folks who are in tech as well. But again, just encouraging everyone to embrace it.
And I want to, and we stated, well, Bernard, you hinted at this, but we need to make sure, you work at an amazing university. What university is it?
um, the University of Pittsburgh, right? Um,
Yes.
for those who don't know, I am the director of the University of Pittsburgh's Homewood Community Engagement Center, which is part of the Office of Engagement and Community Affairs, which is an office that's very close um, to the Chancellor's heart, right? And the Office of Engagement and Community Affairs leads the university's commitments to the neighborhoods. And so, even
Wow.
though the city of Pittsburgh has over 90 plus neighborhoods, right, the university focus commitments of resources, programmings, and collaborations into four communities right off campus in South Oakland. Hazelwood will have a physical community engagement center in 2027. We have our Hill District
Wow.
location that opened in oh shoot, I should know this. 21, 22. And then we have our Homewood location, which I'm the director of. I've been here almost a year, and this center has been open almost 6 years.
And I can speak towards all the amazing startups, entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs that you and team have assisted and connected with. It continues to see our growth, and that I love is the hope that you and team continuously put out to our communities of what is possible, and not when you try. I don't like that word try. I think that's a bad word because you do. If you're in action, you're doing it. You're in action doing, and
Very
all you
intentional.
have to do
Oh, I'm sorry.
is intentional. Go ahead.
It's very intentional. So I own two small businesses. Like super active in one, and the other one is sort of like a minority participation, right? But even at my work at the university, our commitments to the Homewood and Homewood adjacent community is health and wellness, social work, education, and now entrepreneurship because of my background. So there was a limited amount of entrepreneur programming here at the CEC, and now we have entrepreneur programming almost 4 days a week here as well. So we have a little bit of something for everyone. And why I'm here at the university, I want to do my best to open up opportunities for folks within our community to do business with the university. So the university has a strong procurement department, business and operations, but they want to even do more to get Black and Brown businesses within the university. For example, um, I think the university spends somewhere around $25 million a year on food. There's one major contractor that gets about 80% of that because they deal with feeding the students on campus pretty much, year round. But there are lots of opportunities for small business owners in the food space, especially folks who do vegetarian, plant
Hmm.
based, vegan as well, right? Because there's so many
Yeah.
faculty, staff, and students who just don't eat, meat or eat red meat, right? So
Hmm.
that's one of the things that I've been actively working on is to almost like double the number of Black and Brown caterers within our system. In addition to that, there are opportunities for folks who own cleaning companies to potentially contract to clean some of the buildings at the university. Um, there's a lot of emerging construction companies in our community, and there are opportunities for folks who have construction businesses to partner with the university for some opportunities.
Wow. So we're gonna be talking offline. uh, but what I'm hearing and what I have heard and is Bernard, I would love for you to be on as often as possible because these opportunities are available and available for consumption now. So all of you, all of our Black and Brown community companies that are in the area, if you don't know of the opportunities, yeah, if Vernard is willing to come on as often as he'd like, we'll make sure that you have the information that you need and that you need to be successful. There is so much support and help out here. Uh, you have to reach out and touch somebody. If they don't know you need help, they can't help.
Amen.
If they if they don't know you have a business plan or a business idea, they can't help. And I will tell you, when I first handed a business plan over, I was scared and it looked like it. However, the supports that have come around to know is vastly different. And Bernard, I know that what time is also important. And as we're wrapping up our conversation today, and as we talked about innovation and technology, October, as we know, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and as we are wrapping up September, being Suicide Prevention Month, as well as Recovery Month. um, we've been wanting to, and we'd like to honor and take a moment to honor someone personal to us in our lives. Is there someone personal in your life that has deeply impacted you who left and whose light that you'd like to honor, especially in the wake of loss?
Um, Probably my grandparents, Edward and Cherry Dawkins. They provided so many opportunities. They sacrificed so much for my mother and for myself to have the best quality of life. I would say in our family, especially on my mom's side, they were like first generation black middle class in the city of Pittsburgh,
Okay.
right? And middle class in the 70s don't necessarily mean a lot of money, but enough money where you could kind of maybe get outside the city, purchase a home with a little bit of land, etc.
Hmm.
And they invested so much into me, right? And I've as a parent, have tried to pass on those same things to my sons. And even if they don't see it today, because they're both still teenagers, right? Even though one's in
Yeah.
college, is that, you know, sacrificing a lot, you know, to affect generational change, So, I honor my grandparents um, in light of Breast Cancer Month. Um, I just want to lift up so many people. I have some friends that are now family, um, Alexis Russell, Denise Graham Shealy, Roxanne Easley, um, three ladies who have been battling over the last year with breast cancer. I have a new friend, Latrina Watkins, who is, going through that battle as well. And just on my social media timeline, I could probably sit here and name a few other folks who are, you know, battling, with what's
Yeah.
in their bodies that's trying to eat them up, So I kind of lift them
Yes.
up, their families, their children, their friends. And it's really part of the reason why I do what I do. And one of the things in my business, the Minority Network and Exchange, that I have been doing on and off for the last 6 years is to host events to recognize Black excellence, to provide opportunities for people to raise money, whether it's for their families, their treatment bills, for their business, for grassroots organizations. So, on and off for the last 6 years, I've hosted guest bartender events once a
Hmm.
week, every other week, where folks could bartend for a few hours and all the tip money go to whatever they want. So, 3 times since the summer, we've had guest bartender events where all the tips have gone through gone to three ladies who are close to me who are going through breast cancer. And that's kind of an extension of an event that I've been hosting for 3 years called Motivational Mondays at Nobleman Cigar Lounge in Penn Hills, PA, where we bring out guest speakers to talk about whatever, mostly in the areas of entrepreneurship. However, when we're not having topics on entrepreneurships, it's really like Black excellence and things to
Yeah.
improve our community. So, 4 or 5 different times I've had clinicians over the last 2+ years talk about things that folks can do to reduce stress, harm, anxiety, etc. Um, to my surprise, the last clinical social worker we brought in back in the late spring, the crowd was a little light, in the beginning.
Hmm.
There was quite a few men in the room, and one guy was so touched by what he was hearing from the clinician that he started telling his story about how his son was murdered a few years ago and how it still affects him every day. And like it was like really raw emotionally, and it actually started the process of other men sharing. And there was multiple men in the room who have been closed to therapy, who have said that they wanted to set up an appointment based off of
Wow.
the conversation of being in a bar. You know, we're in a cigar
Yeah.
bar lounge having these conversations every week for 3 hours. And, you know, I love it. You know, you bring the resources, you bring the experts to the where the people are. You don't wait for them to always come to the university. You know, I have been working with my staff and faculty members of the university to say that all the programs, all the bells and whistles, all the toys, all the shiny projects do not actually have to
Yeah.
be in the physical four walls of the space that we run, right? We can take these things directly to the people where they're hurting and providing resources, etc. And then they'll see that we really care, and then it'll make it so much easier for them to actually want to come to the building to see what else we have to offer.
Absolutely. And that you're showing. You're not just saying. You're showing, and that's amazing that that you're doing that because it resonates. Authenticity resonates,
Amen to
and
that.
that's what we are.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
And authenticity is real, and it's realer now than ever before. We can spot it ever so clearly, and this time that we're in is one of the best times that I do believe that we are living in, and it's a time of a great collaboration, a time where our children's children are really taking the technology and making it what we are seeing and living. Now, I also stated we were close to our time here, and I wanted to just Vernard, thank you
Thank you.
from the. If you're gonna, as you know, I say those words all the time. I say thank you to the point where they almost get ad nauseum, but it's because I love those two words. You can't. They say everything, and most importantly, it expresses that it takes a village. It truly takes a village for one to see and have success, and that is that we are that village. You are that gladiator. You are gladiator, and you are the connecting king. I am like blown away at just how amazing and the work that you've done in the community for 18 years. And the one thing I know about you is that you're not stopping. You're just getting started.
I, I'm just getting started. Absolutely. I fully agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and that next season that you are now in, King, like that, you are already in the next season in the next era. And I am ecstatic because the gladiators around, not just in Southwestern PA, but around the world, who are going to be able to take advantage of what the Connecting King has to offer. I cannot wait to see that. And so there are always big things on the horizon when it comes to what Bernard Alexander is doing. So before, what is on the horizon? Are there any things that you might be able to share with us, tease out with our gladiators?
Yes. So I'm working with two different local entrepreneur support organizations. ESOs are basically organizations that do work that supports entrepreneurship in a particular region. So I am working with two different entrepreneur support organizations to create two different programs that's going to really highlight black and brown businesses in the region in a elevated capacity, to offer
Okay.
support and encourage folks who are not quite at that level yet. So that's all I could say on it so far, but it's something that I've
Okay.
been really working on for a couple years, and I look forward to it, because it's going to help hundreds, if not thousands, of folks.
Man, we cannot wait to see what that looks like. King, I'm so excited and ecstatic. Bernard, thank you for taking the time for being with us today in our gladiators.
I'm happy to
I
be a
cannot tell you what.
gladiator. Let's go to
Yeah,
war.
listen,
Let's break all these
you know.
barriers and systems down.
It's time. The time is now, and we're doing. And here's the best part: we are doing it in love, kindness, respect. We are doing it in all the ways that it needs to be done. We do it hard, we do it right, and we collaborate together. And there's enough for all of us to shine. There's so much for us all to shine, and that's what I'm truly ecstatic for, is to see all how we all shine and shine in this happiness together. And to our listeners, remember, building your dreams is a journey, but you don't have to walk it alone. Stay connected, stay authentic. I'm not going to sign off though. Vernard, I would love for you to take the final 2 minutes of this time to speak to our gladiators, and these are your times. You can please sign off for us and let them know how they can connect with you.
Gladiators. I'm in the process of getting a new website. So my new website will be up by the end of the year. It is my first and last name com. So VernardAlexander.com. If you would like to stay connected now, I have a email subscription that is currently free. I can't say it's going to always be free. There are lots of advice, tips, tools, resources that I send out sometimes once a week. Sometimes I send out emails 5 times a week. If you send me an email at Vernard at VernardAlexander.com, I will add you to my email list. Um, really plan. That's easy to say. Write your ideas down on a piece of paper. Write them down on a poster board. Look at them. The things that don't make sense or that not really align to what your real mission and goals are, get rid of them. Focus on those 2 or 3 areas that you feel like you're an expert in, and um, utilize your network to the most of your ability to help you accomplish your goals, but most importantly, stay authentically true to who you are, right? And that does not mean that you need to be perfect. Just be your authentic self, right? Because if you're fake, the streets will know, and they'll call you out on it, and they won't support you because they know you're fake, right? So we're not talking about perfection. We're just talking about you thriving in your authentic self.
I could not have said that any better. Thank you so much, gladiators. Until our next episode, and don't worry, we will be having Vernard on regularly. There are so many opportunities that are present with the University of Pittsburgh, and we want to make sure that all businesses are aware of them in all facets. So we're going to do our part to make sure that you are aware, and we're going to ensure that Pitt continues the amazing work that they're doing, and they have the spotlight. And Vernard, the Minority Network Exchange is up It is going. We have Motivation Mondays. Like there's so much great work to do in this community, and we're just getting started. Gladiators, until next time, peace.